There is a moment that every man has experienced at least once in his life. You are talking to a woman who seems amazing, someone who captures your attention and makes you want to know more about her. Her smile is warm, her laugh is genuine. The conversation flows easily enough, but something is missing. Her interest just is not there. You can feel it in the way her eyes drift slightly, in the way her responses become shorter, in the way she seems to be politely waiting for the conversation to end. You try being kinder. You try giving more attention. You try showing her how much you care. Yet the more effort you show, the more distance you feel growing between you. It is confusing. It is frustrating. And it makes you wonder what you are doing wrong. What most men never realize is this: you are probably not doing the wrong things. You are just doing the right things in the wrong sequence. Attraction does not grow the way logic works. It is not a formula where effort equals reward. It is not a system where kindness is automatically returned with affection. If it were, the world would be a much simpler place. But human beings, especially when it comes to desire, are not logical creatures. We are emotional creatures driven by ancient instincts that our conscious minds barely understand. And that is why understanding the psychology of attraction is so essential. Before we go further, you need to hear this clearly. This was never your fault. Nobody taught you this growing up. School did not explain it. Society did not explain it. Your father probably did not explain it, because no one explained it to him either. We were all raised on the same fairy tale. Be a good man. Be kind. Be generous. Be patient. And eventually, someone will recognize your worth and love you for it. That fairy tale works well in movies. It works well in children's books. But it does not work well in the real world of adult relationships. Female attraction is not logical. It is emotional. While you were trying to prove you would be a good partner with words and reasoning, her deeper brain was scanning for completely different signals without you even realizing it. Research in evolutionary psychology shows that attraction often comes from mental shortcuts. These are deep patterns the brain responds to automatically. They are not conscious choices. They are instinctive reactions that have been shaped by thousands of generations of evolution. Once you understand them, you stop chasing. You stop forcing. You naturally become the kind of man women want to win over. The philosopher Aristotle, though not a Stoic, observed that we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit, and the same applies to attraction. It is not about a single perfect move. It is about a collection of habits that communicate value, confidence, and presence. Let us start with the first trigger, masculine presence. This is not about muscles. It is not about how tall you are. It is not about the clothes you wear or the car you drive. It is about energy. It is about the space you occupy when you enter a room. Do you take up space or do you quietly shrink? Do you move with purpose or do you shuffle nervously? Do you make eye contact or do you look at the floor? Women sense these things within seconds of seeing you. It is not a conscious calculation. It is an instinctive reading of your posture, your breathing, your level of comfort in your own skin. A man who moves calmly, who is not rushing, who does not search faces for approval, sends a powerful message without speaking a single word. He communicates value through presence alone. The philosopher Epictetus observed that nothing great is created suddenly. And that is true of presence as well. It is not something you can fake in a moment. It is something that grows over time as you become more comfortable with yourself. That kind of grounded energy is rare, and rarity creates attraction faster than words ever could. Imagine you are at a bar or a social event. Instead of scanning the room nervously, instead of looking for signs of interest from every woman who walks by, you relax. Your shoulders stay back. Your breathing slows. You observe without anxiety. You are not waiting for something to happen. You are simply present. That simple shift changes how women perceive you. Her subconscious radar turns on. She feels something different, not because you tried harder, but because you became more centered in yourself. The philosopher Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, taught that the goal of life is to live in agreement with nature, and it is human nature to be drawn to calm, steady, grounded energy. When you are anxious, you are broadcasting that you are not in control of yourself, and that uncertainty makes people uncomfortable. But when you are calm, you are broadcasting that you are in control, and that control, that self-possession, is deeply attractive. It signals that you are not a threat, that you are reliable, that you can be trusted. And trust, as we will see, is the foundation of everything. The second trigger is emotional challenge. Most men agree with everything a woman says. They fear conflict. They fear that if they disagree, she will lose interest. They think that being agreeable is the same as being kind. But that is a misunderstanding. Agreement is not kindness. It is often just fear dressed up as politeness. And fear, no matter how well disguised, is always felt by the other person. When you lightly disagree or tease playfully, you create something that is essential for attraction. Polarity. Polarity creates magnetism. Think of it like electricity. You need a positive and a negative charge to create a spark. If everything is the same, there is no spark. There is no tension. There is no excitement. For example, she says she loves waking up early. Instead of agreeing, you smile and say, "Really?" You look like a snooze button expert. It is playful. It is not rude. That light challenge shows confidence. It shows that you are not afraid to express yourself. It shows that you are not trying to impress her by being a mirror that reflects back everything she says. You are engaging with her as an equal. This creates spark. Attraction needs contrast, not constant agreement. The philosopher Musonius Rufus, a Stoic teacher who profoundly influenced Epictetus, wrote that we should not use our words to command, but to persuade and to teach. And persuasion requires a certain amount of friction. It requires the courage to be yourself, even when that self differs from the person you are talking to. The third trigger is selective attention. This is where many men lose control. They give too much attention too soon. They reply instantly to every message. They cancel plans at the last minute just to see her. They rearrange their schedules around her availability. They make themselves constantly available. And the female brain, which has been shaped by millions of years of evolution, reads this as low value. A man with options is not always available. A man who is valuable does not drop everything for anyone. Think about it. If a celebrity or a successful businessman was always available, always responding instantly, always eager to please, you would not think he was very important. You would think he did not have much going on. The same principle applies to attraction. You need to be interesting, but you also need to be interested in things beyond her. Purpose is attractive. When you have hobbies, goals, friendships, and direction, your time becomes valuable. You stop orbiting her world. That makes her curious. She feels drawn toward a man who has a full life, not someone who drops everything for her attention. The philosopher Epictetus taught that we should not seek to have events happen as we wish, but to wish them to happen as they do happen. When you are constantly trying to control the outcome, constantly trying to engineer her interest, you are fighting against nature. But when you focus on building your own life, you are aligning yourself with nature. And that alignment creates a natural magnetism that no amount of chasing could ever replicate. Scarcity creates interest. Not games, not manipulation, just healthy balance. The fourth trigger is intentional listening. Not just hearing words, but actually remembering them. When you recall details she mentioned casually and bring them up later, you stand out instantly. Emotional connection grows from being seen. We all want to feel that someone is paying attention to us. We all want to feel that we matter. When you remember something she said, you are telling her, "I was listening. You are important to me. What you say matters." This is powerful because most people do not listen. They wait for their turn to speak. They are so focused on what they are going to say next that they miss what the other person is actually saying. For example, she mentions loving orchids. Days later, you send a photo of one you saw and say it reminded you of her. That level of attention is powerful. It shows presence. It shows care. And care, when combined with strength, is deeply attractive. This creates emotional bonding faster than compliments ever could. The philosopher Seneca wrote that we should be silent as to services we have rendered, but speak of favors we have received. In other words, do not boast about what you have done. But when it comes to listening, do not be silent. Let her know you heard her. Let her know she matters. That small act of attention can change everything. The fifth trigger is calibrated vulnerability. Many men think they must appear unbreakable. They think that showing any weakness will make them appear weak. But women do not connect with perfection. They connect with honesty delivered confidently. When you share something real, a past challenge or a fear without playing the victim, you become relatable, human, and grounded. Vulnerability with stability builds trust, and trust opens the door to desire. Think about it. Would you rather be with someone who is perfect but cold, or someone who is flawed but real? The answer is obvious. Vulnerability is not weakness, it is courage. It takes more strength to admit a fear than to pretend you do not have one. It takes more courage to be honest about your past than to hide it behind a mask of perfection. Strength is not hiding flaws, it is being comfortable with them. The philosopher Cleanthes, who succeeded Zeno as the head of the Stoic school, wrote that the fates guide the willing, but drag the unwilling. When you are willing to be vulnerable, when you are willing to be real, you are guided toward deeper connection. But when you are unwilling, when you hide behind a mask of perfection, you are dragged into loneliness. The sixth trigger is gradual physical touch. Science shows that light, respectful touch releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone. A brief touch on the arm during laughter, a gentle shoulder brush while walking. Nothing forced, nothing rushed. These moments create positive physical association. Her brain begins linking your presence with comfort and warmth. Touch is one of the most powerful forms of communication. It can convey more than words ever could. It can say, "I am safe, I am comfortable with you, I want to be close to you." When done respectfully and naturally, it builds a bridge between two people. It creates a sense of connection that cannot be replicated through conversation alone. The key is gradualism. Start with small, incidental touches. See how she responds. If she leans into them, if she reciprocates, you can escalate slowly. But never rush, never force. Patience is not just a virtue, it is a strategy. The philosopher Marcus Aurelius reminded us that everything that happens is as natural and familiar as the rose in spring or the fruit in autumn. Touch, when it happens naturally, is as beautiful as a flower blooming. It should not be forced. It should simply be allowed to happen. The seventh and most powerful trigger is controlled unpredictability. The brain loves dopamine. Dopamine comes from rewarding uncertainty. When you are slightly unpredictable, you become fascinating. This does not mean being inconsistent or unstable. It does not mean playing games with her emotions. It means balance. Sometimes warm, sometimes challenging. Sometimes you initiate, sometimes you wait. You maintain mystery, and mystery keeps her thinking about you even when you are not there. Think about it. Why do we keep watching a TV show? Because we do not know what will happen next. The uncertainty keeps us engaged. The same principle applies to attraction. When she can predict exactly what you will do, when she knows exactly how you will respond, the mystery disappears, and with it, the excitement. Controlled unpredictability is not about being confusing. It is about being complex. It is about being a person who cannot be fully figured out in one conversation. It is about having depth. The philosopher Hierocles, a Stoic who wrote extensively on ethics, observed that we should approach others as we would approach ourselves, with patience and understanding. When you approach attraction with patience and understanding, when you allow the connection to unfold naturally, you create a space where desire can grow. You do not need to force anything. You just need to be present, be authentic, and trust the process. Now, let us go deeper into each of these triggers because understanding them on a surface level is not enough. You need to internalize them. You need to live them. Masculine presence is not something you can practice once and then forget. It is a habit. It is a way of moving through the world. It starts with your posture. It starts with your breathing. It starts with the way you hold your shoulders. When you walk into a room, do you look at the floor or do you look at the people around you? Do you smile or do you scowl? Do you engage or do you retreat? The philosopher Epictetus taught that it is not what happens to us, but how we react to it that matters. And how you react to entering a social situation, whether you react with confidence or anxiety, determines everything that follows. If you are anxious, you will act anxious. And anxious energy is not attractive. But if you are calm, you will act calm. And calm energy is magnetic. The difference between the two is not a matter of personality. It is a matter of practice. You can learn to be calm. You can learn to be present. You can learn to be grounded. It just takes time. The third trigger, selective attention, also deserves a deeper dive. Many men think that being interested means being available. They confuse the two, but they are not the same thing. You can be genuinely interested in someone while still maintaining your own life. You can be genuinely interested in someone while still having boundaries. You can be genuinely interested in someone while still saying no. The key is balance. If you are always available, you are not a priority. You are a convenience, and no one desires a convenience. They desire something they have to work for. The philosopher Marcus Aurelius reminded us that we should not waste our time on things that do not matter. Your time is valuable. Your attention is valuable. Do not give it away to anyone who has not earned it. When you value your own time, others will value it too. When you respect your own boundaries, others will respect them too. It is a simple principle, but it is one that most men never learn. The fourth trigger, intentional listening, is often overlooked. We live in a world of constant distraction. Everyone is on their phone. Everyone is thinking about the next thing they need to do. Everyone is waiting for their turn to speak. When you actually listen, when you actually pay attention, you stand out immediately. You become rare. And rarity creates value. The philosopher Seneca wrote that we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. And when you are not listening, you are not present. You are lost in your own imagination, worrying about what might happen next. But when you listen, you are present. You are in the moment. And that presence is deeply attractive because it makes her feel seen. It makes her feel valued. It makes her feel important. The fifth trigger, calibrated vulnerability, is the one that requires the most courage. It is easy to be strong when you are hiding your weaknesses. It is much harder to be strong when you are honest about them. But honesty, delivered with confidence, is one of the most attractive qualities a man can possess. The philosopher Epictetus wrote that we should not be ashamed of our mistakes, but rather learn from them. When you share a past mistake, you are not admitting weakness. You are showing growth. You are showing that you have learned from your experiences, and that maturity is deeply attractive. The sixth trigger, gradual physical touch, is about creating connection through the body. Words are important, but touch can communicate things that words cannot. A gentle touch on the arm can say, "I am here. I care about you. I want to be close to you." The key is to start small and pay attention to how she responds. If she pulls away, respect that. If she leans in, you can escalate slowly. The philosopher Zeno of Citium taught that the goal of life is to live in agreement with nature. And touch is a natural part of human connection. When used respectfully, it can deepen a bond faster than any conversation ever could. The seventh trigger, controlled unpredictability, is the most powerful because it creates dopamine. Dopamine is the neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and reward. It is released when we experience something new or unexpected. When you are slightly unpredictable, when you are not always available, when you are not always predictable, you keep her brain engaged. She wonders about you. She thinks about you. She looks forward to seeing you again. That is the power of controlled unpredictability. Now, you have real tools. Not tricks, not manipulation, not games. These are psychological triggers that work because they align with how the human brain is wired. They are not about deceiving anyone. They are about becoming the best version of yourself. Use them with respect. Use them intentionally. You do not need perfection. You need strategy. The philosopher Epictetus wrote that we should not seek to have events happen as we wish, but to wish them to happen as they do happen. You cannot control whether she is interested. You cannot control whether she chooses you. But you can control how you show up. You can control your presence. You can control your attention. You can control your vulnerability. And when you show up as the best version of yourself, you give yourself the best possible chance of creating a genuine connection. This kind of depth is exactly what I teach in my full guide, Attraction Secrets. It goes beyond theory into real-life application. It shows you not only how to recognize these moments, but how to act so she feels you are exactly the man she has been waiting for. The link is in the description. And if this video helped you in one way or another, please consider supporting the channel using the Super Thanks feature. Your support means a lot, and it helps us keep creating better content specially for you. Every contribution goes directly into improving the quality of these videos and bringing you more of the Stoic wisdom and psychological insights that you have come to expect. Thank you for being part of this journey. Stay grounded, stay present, and I will see you right here in the next one.